Hello, welcome to Edge of Sanity. This review will contain spoilers, but it will mostly be story spoilers. I'll spoil a little bit of the ending as well. And then we'll talk about the mechanics and I'll play a random mission for resources. Now, this game is amazing because it blends a lot of genres. It's a survival game, it's an adventure game, it's an action game, it's a story-driven game. In the game, as you can see, the graphics are just amazing and I really miss this type of graphics. They're just, I don't know, they're just very, very appealing with all of the details. Like, even the axe has details like the wood, the chipped blade and some other details. And I have to say this game is amazing. I would give it an 8 out of 10 because it's an indie game. I want to give it more, but there are a few problems and I think they're mostly related to the developers not having enough money or time to finish the game as they envision it. So I hope this game sells well so the developers can do a proper sequel where they expand all of the other mechanics. Now, some people are upset about the hybrid and the mixing of the genres of the game. What does that mean? Well, the narration is very good, the story is very good, the cutscenes are good, the voice acting is very good, but sadly the survival aspect of the game is a little bit prolonged, meaning it will take you a lot of time in order to save everyone and keep them alive, because as you can see they need food and water every single day. So that means you have to prioritize getting resources from the missions, randomized missions, and then doing the big story missions as well. But at the same time you have to prioritize upgrading your base because every building has a few upgrades they can do. The game is also split in chapters, so chapter 1 is kind of boring, chapter 2 is a little harder but not much, and then in chapter 3 you lose all of your resources and you have to start upgrading and start managing the base all over again. Now, the game has so many moving parts, I don't even know where to start. You have the crafting over here, which you can do in base or in the field. You have the traumas. Also, another problem with the game is that it doesn't really have a proper RPG system, meaning you'll just kill enemies and you don't get anything in return except the chance to get more materials. But you do get traumas. You have health, stamina, and trauma. Or just stress. Imagine it's stress. So you can get good traumas or bad traumas. For example, the ones I have are just good because it regenerates my health when it's low or when it's a little lower, but it's almost close to maximum. And this one, well, this one you cannot get rid of. The only way to get rid of the traumas will be to find a shrine in the wilderness and maybe with an endgame item. But if you get the max number of traumas, that's it, game over. The game is very rewarding because the more you upgrade of your base, the more inventory slots you have. You start, I think, with only the first row and maybe 2 other rows over here. And the more you upgrade the buildings, the more inventory slots you get for yourself and also for the campsite. Because you don't have all of these slots in the beginning, you only have a limited amount. Also you have a quick bar over here which you don't have a lot of slots, but I've unlocked all of them because this is the maximum upgraded camp. Now, what else is there to the game besides crafting, upgrading the base, resources, exploring, doing all of that, and the story missions? Well, there is also the journal, which tells you a lot about the game itself, and I think the developers wanted to do more with this stuff, but they didn't really have time. Also, every character you encounter has a background, meaning they want something, they have a reason to be here, and they have something they want at the current time. You can just read through their diary notes, but again, this requires you to play the game a lot more. Now, let's get to the interesting point, playtime. Well, the total playtime for the game is about 10 hours, but some people will play up to 15 to 20 hours just to maximize their chances of surviving and bringing everyone out alive. Which is a bit of a shame because this is where the game kind of loses its focus on the gameplay. And it's focused more around just getting a lot of resources and dealing with all of the negative events that can happen. Yes, the game has a lot of negative events like a building losing a level. And you have to upgrade it all over again, which can mean you have to spend maybe 20-30 minutes just fixing something because you need the resources and you need to pass the time. To mitigate this, you'd probably need to upgrade your palisade level as high as possible, but upgrading something requires someone is pulled off a station. So what does that mean? That means in a day you'll not be producing food, water, wood or scrap. Which means not only are you spending your resources, but you also have less resources available. And since food and water are not negotiable, yeah, you'll have to probably go on a mission to get, let's say, more wood when you're upgrading the palisade. So that's where people kind of got upset, because you can totally skip this part and have everyone die, or most people die, or 1 or 2 people die, and just finish the storyline. Which can mean you can finish the game even in about 8 hours if you just rush the main events and don't care about the other stuff. Because like I said, you don't gain experience and you'll just be losing out on some dialogue and some other stuff. Now, what are the enemies? Well, the enemies are quite varied, but once you know how to deal with them, it becomes much easier. So the maggots there, you kill them with light, kill them with a blade. Yeah, you also have some items that will help you deal with them. Frenchy maggots, it's on the roof or on the ceiling. Boom shroom, they also are attracted to light. So for example, if you are in a cave and you want to kill these guys with a light, and the boom shroom sees the light, it will run towards you very, very fast and explode. Scary. You have these guys, which are not as scary as they look. Probably could have been a little scarier, but they're more or less patrolling some areas. Now, these enemies have a ranged attack, and they all have different sounds, and you cannot mistake them for something else. Also, later down the line, again, you don't face all of this in the beginning. You only face, let's say, the first 3 or 4 in the beginning. You kill the maggot, it can also evolve, and you also have the mauler, which more or less like the tentaculus, but I don't know. They have different behaviors, and the more important thing about it is you will gain stress. So no matter if you can kill everyone very easy or very hard, you will gain stress. So your goal is to maximize your time that is not gaining stress, if that makes sense. You have to handle situations very, very fast. For that, you have also variety of weapons. You'll not be using them in the beginning very much, but later on you can use more of them. Now, related to the camp management, sometimes they can get sick, injured, or tired. So you have to craft different items that basically use the same resources up. So you cannot stockpile them, and you don't really get them. So you don't get a remedy or an injury kit, which I think it's the main problem, because you'll only be getting materials to craft them. Which means at some point you'll just lose the game because you didn't try hard enough to help them survive. Which means you might have to restart the game if you want to keep them alive, which, spoiler alert, if you see the ending it will not be worth it. But again. So, as you can see, certain materials are used up in more ways. For example, offering to the beast will decrease your stress, but it's also needed to heal them in case they need it. The whiskey is also needed to heal you, so as you can see, some items are super rare, and you only have a guaranteed chance of getting materials that are not related to the crafting one. So this is where the game gets a little bit tricky, and I think they should have explained it a little better. So for example, the forest path might have altars that will decrease your trauma, meaning they decrease your trauma by 1, they eliminate 1 completely, and reduce stress. The prince buildings will mostly have food, water, but also other resources like the flares and some other very cool things. The mines will mostly have, well, iron, but sometimes they can also have other things, like one of the items required to reduce your stress, offering to the beast. Again, the game is very complex, I don't want to get into all of the details, just know that you'll have a lot of tools to work with, like grenade launchers. Well, I guess it's an improvised grenade launcher later down the line, so it's mostly be based on the progression or if you find them, but you also have Molotov cocktails, grenades. Mostly you'll be throwing stuff or hitting stuff with your axe. So that's kind of like the whole point of the game. And it's kind of funny because this map over here, this map piece is where you begin, and then they just duct tape it together with other bigger maps. Now there is also a story about the cultists, there is also a story about the corporation, and yeah, it's kind of interesting the way it's designed. So the gameplay loop is you assign them to their stations, and then you can also send the dog to scout, but for the purpose of the video I'll do a mission in the prison building, which gives you food and water. Because this is the more interesting location to see. Now the maps, depending on the difficulty of the map, you have easy in the beginning, in the second chapter is medium, and now it's hard. I think I have about 4 or 5 map layouts, and they just get randomized, so you'll kind of see every possible map after about 5 or 6, 7 games in this tile set, like the hard prince building. Let's go. But since the resources are randomized and some of the monsters are randomized, again, I optimized everything so I know how to play the game. This is also a risk because it increases your stress, but it usually has much more valuable items than normal chest. Now you have 2 goals. 1, get resources. 2, don't lose a lot of health or gain a lot of stress. 3, easy. if you gather all of the items 100% on resources and items, you get a stress reduction. So that means if you get all of the items, you'll automatically gain stress if you fight. But if you find all of the items, your stress will be reduced. And this is kind of like the basis for the game. This is the map that leads outside as well, so sometimes it's only the prison building with elevators and such. As you can see, if you get too close to it, you'll start gaining stress. You have to put the light exactly so it gets killed. Yeah, this is a map I played a lot because I was farming for the end of the game and I don't really need to do it, but I did it anyway. Because I want to see more of the game. Now this is tricky. You can also just kill them normally, but again, you want to do it the fastest way possible. Green access card. And I like the Prince building because they're much more lively, let's say, as opposed to the mines, which are incredibly dark and oppressive. And the forest is filled, sometimes it has traps, sometimes it will be the easier option, but most of the times it will have a lot of enemies to kill. Somehow I didn't hit him in the head because I was not paying attention. Very bad because now I need to heal. Some of these rooms are a bit annoying, so this is the hard difficulty, meaning you cannot go out unscathed. You have to play super good, but also have a lot of luck to make it out without stress or traumas. Yeah, sometimes the worms can respawn. Is already filled up with what? With nonsense, I guess. Also drop the items. Not all of that. Not all of the areas will have items you need or locations that you need to visit. But this is only for storytelling purposes, but if you interact with this thing it will increase your stress, but again, I said I will provide some spoilers. You are also part of this thing and you also experimented on. So you're not exactly human either, so that's why you can kill this thing so easy. Here we got the green card. That will lead you to the mines, I think. Not necessarily every door you will open will have something good for you. I kind of like, because even full of the randomization you still can find some interesting things. Flares and a flare gun. Well, to be honest, I think I can... Yeah, let's just drop the stone. I mean, it's a big rock, but I want the flare gun. The flare gun shoots 5 flares. The flares, you can throw 5 flares again. It's more different than you think, because if you throw a flare on the worms that run away from the light, you can kill them instantly. And it will also light up the area, but it also draw in the shroom boys. So it's a little bit annoying, I don't know. I shouldn't have taken damage in that fight, but I guess I didn't aim well enough for the head. You also have multiple exits, so you don't really have to go back every time. Much easier to aim it. And at this point I can just use any equipment I like, because we'll get more of it. You don't have to kill that one, but it annoys me to do it. the annoying part is that it cannot get to you because the light is over here, but at the same time it increases your strength. As you can see, they are very specific.
That's just what I needed.
Empty. Yeah, exactly what I needed, it's empty. Got a reduction in our total stress level, but it was not really that much. Now, let's hope we don't get negative camp events, please, nothing bad happens. They can steal your stuff, they can do a lot of crazy things. Okay, nothing bad happened, and again, this is after me farming a lot, so you can probably finish the game in 10 hours without any issues, except losing some people here and there. It again doesn't have a save and exit, which I really hope they introduce, meaning everything I do over here will be lost if I exit the game, because the game only saves at the start of the day. So, I basically got grenades, some wood, some of that stuff, whiskey, which is great, because I showed you that you need it a lot, and then materials, and then I'll leave all of this be in my inventory so I can go to the next adventure. If you lose all durability, the item gets destroyed. It's horrible because to repair it you need only 1 iron, but to craft it again you need 2 iron and 2 wood. Same for the knife, you need less resources if you want to repair it, which is great, because that means you also need a steady supply of iron, but you also need iron to fix some things or if they get sick, so it's an amazing game with a lot of amazing mechanics that was sadly kind of rushed in the ending, because this chapter definitely feels a lot more rushed. So I should probably just go and do the main story and I'll finish my let's play of it, and it's amazing. I want to see more of the game, but I hope the developers have more money and more team members to make a sequel. Great game, definitely recommended. Like I said, 8 out of 10, but it can be a lot more depending on the person who's playing it, because I am being a little bit strict with that now. Also, let's look at all of the inventory stuff over here. Can kind of guess a little bit of the story, research notes. We also have some puzzles with some hearts. I guess I should have mentioned that we have some puzzles with some hearts and some puzzles with lock picking, meaning you have to figure out a combination. But that doesn't really happen that often, and usually it's easy. It only happens in the beginning, so don't be scared that the beginning will have some safe puzzles or some puzzles with some crazy hard things. And believe me, you'll see horrible things that will really scare you, and actually jumped a few times because the game was that scary. Anyway, bye bye.